Good morning, guys. Happy Tuesday, 1st of February. Okay, so this kind of the date brings in, we are now into February. Maybe you know, maybe you don't, what starts this weekend? The Olympics. Okay, and we all know where they are. They're in Beijing. Now, what I kind of want to talk to you about today is the typical watch this hand, don't watch this one. The Olympics start in Beijing this weekend. And if anybody hasn't correlated this with 1936, I'm surprised, okay, because I sure have. If you remember the 1936 Olympics, they were in Berlin, okay? This was the Olympics of Jesse Owens. This was the Olympics of Adolf Hitler and his master race crap. And Jesse Owens went and basically trashed that idea on a world stage. Okay. What Berlin was to Germany in 1936 is the same thing that Beijing is to China in 2022. It is the coming out party of Xi Jinping and putting him as the, in their opinion, supreme leader of the world. Kind of like the same thing that Germany did in 36 with Hitler. Now, when everybody's going to say, oh, Xi Jinping has been, premier in, or whatever the hell you want to give him as a title, in China for a few years now, and remember, Adolf Hitler became Chancellor of Germany in 1933. Okay, so he'd already been Chancellor for a few years. Now, there's a complete difference in ideology from Nazi fascism and Chinese communism. But even then, it's still a totalitarian type ideal that is being pushed upon the people, not only of their country, but of the world. And this is what is going on. You have to remember, Xi Jinping is a true believer in communism. I mean, his idols are Mao Zedong and Vladimir Lenin. Okay, so, that'll tell you how far he wants to go with communism. Now imagine this. For the better part of a year, all we have heard in the Western media, at least, is Russia, Ukraine, Russia, Ukraine. The typical crap that the left will not get out of the Cold War. Okay, Russia is still the boogeyman to the media, to Democrats, to whatever. Okay, doesn't matter that the Soviet Union fell 31 years ago. It doesn't matter that the Berlin Wall fell over 31 years ago. What was it, 1989, I think it was, thereabouts. Russia is still the boogeyman. We still have this big worry about the Russian machine, the communist, the Soviet Union, that doesn't even exist anymore. Okay. Imagine, if you will, that the 2022 Olympics weren't being held in Beijing, but they were being held in Kiev. What would be going on right now? Imagine if they were being held, say, in Rostov-on-Don, which is just across the Ukrainian border in Russia. What would happen at that point? What would be the uproar from the rest of the world? Okay, it'd be completely different, except this hand to this hand. Oh, we have Russia amassing troops on the Ukrainian border with no intention of doing anything, except we have Chinese troops flying sorties over Taiwan pretty much daily, okay, and China coming out and saying they will go in militarily if they have to, if Taiwan doesn't fall into line. So we have one supposed threat from this worrisome boogeyman from the 70s and a realistic threat from modern day, from today, from China. Let's ignore the real threat. Let's just fall into the fake threat because, hey, Russia's worked so well for us for the last 5 years. Let's keep going on it. Then again, we can't upset the apple cart with China. Now, I'm going to give you this one. We all know that the media is completely in bed with the DNC. And we know that the DNC is completely in bed with China. Okay. And Biden is completely, totally 100% in bed. I mean, there was the story last week about the $31 million payment that he got. God knows how many stories there are and all the millions that Hunter Biden's got. We don't even have to talk about all the stories of the kidnappings, the hackings, or whatever, all the technology that's stolen, all the spying that is done on our technology infrastructure by China, right? But so who is got rights to televise the Olympics? NBC. Okay, NBC's had the Olympics for years. I think they've got the current contract for another 10 years or something like that to have the worldwide Olympic coverage. Okay, they make something like $1 billion on selling ads for the Olympics. But what is NBC going to do with the Olympic coverage? Now, personally, I can't even watch it anymore. I remember the Olympics being, all the events, if you will. Let's show the skiing, let's show the hockey, let's show the ice skating, let's show the bobsledding, whatever it is. Now you get snippets of that, maybe 5 minutes of the event, and then 25 minutes of some human interest story. Okay. The Katie Courics and, all this sort of stuff. Oh, we need to talk about this person and the struggles they had being a transgender person in wherever, okay? And we need to show them growing up through poverty and, how they had to learn to ice skate on, oil-covered streets or, some sort of bullshit. But so NBC's covering this, okay, with all their uber leftist crap. Now, do you think they're going to cover anything about the Uyghurs? Oh, I doubt it, okay? Are they going to cover anything about the pollution? Their big thing on the Paris Accords and climate change? No, they won't. They'll show how beautiful Beijing is as a city and how we all need to go visit, okay? Let me give you a quote that came out of one of the senior officials of the Beijing Olympics. Her name is Yang Shu. Any behavior or speech that is against the Olympic spirit, especially against the Chinese laws and regulations, are subject to certain punishment. Okay. The athletes have been told, do not say anything. The athletes have been told, expect to be spied on. The athletes have been told, do not take your cell phones with you. Okay? Wow. What do you think the athletes would like to do? Take selfies, take pictures with their competitors, whatever. Go and tour the city. Nope, they're not allowed to. They are literally allowed to get off the airplane, go to their hotel, stay there, go to their event, go back to their hotel. That's it. The Olympic Village, seeing the athletes to get together or whatever and have dinner, have a beer, whatever it is, only if it's in Chinese approved everything. This is the kind of crap that we won't see. And this is what I'm talking about in regards to NBC. Michael Beschloss, okay, who is a commentator on MSNBC, went off the other day, yesterday, okay, on some tirade calling Trump Hitler. Remember, going back to 1936. Even going so far to say that Trump's rally the other day was on January 30th, the day that Hitler took power in Nazi Germany. It was the anniversary from 1933. Okay, you know what? A lot of things happened on January 30th. Should we just cancel that day from the calendar? Because, oh my God, on January 30th, 1933, Hitler took power. Therefore, if you're in politics, if you do anything on January 30th, it's condoning Hitler. Okay, Beschloss, you're an idiot. Okay, but to really tell you you're an idiot, Trump's rally was on the 29th. So you're a dumbass. Okay. Now, you get to the point where there are a lot of countries, and the Uyghur population, okay, who's, millions of them are in concentration camps in China, are calling for a boycott of the Olympics. Not by the countries, because, the countries are going to go, but by the television audience. I don't really think they need to, because the television coverage sucks, okay? But the media is jumping on board along with NBC, okay? The New York Times, the old gray lady, the old gray birdcage liner. Here's a quote out of an article from yesterday. China no longer needs to prove its standing on the world stage. Instead, it wants to proclaim the sweeping vision of a more prosperous, more confident nation under Mr. Xi, the country's most powerful leader since Mao Zedong. Where the government once sought to mollify its critics to make the games a success, today it defies them. Really? Okay? Shall we forget some of the things that China's doing really well right now? Like I said, the Uyghur concentration camps. Forced sterilization. Hey, there's something we need to get involved in. Surveillance, you can't go anywhere without being on camera. Genocide, maybe. Hey, let's go into that one. We don't even have to go into the worldwide pandemic. All right. These are all the contributions that China is making to the world. And we're supposed to go, oh joy, lucky us, we all get to go to Beijing. A lot of countries have said they're not going to send diplomats. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of days on countries that say, you know what, after all, we're not sending any athletes. Now, I feel for the athletes because they've trained for their lives for this one moment, and if they don't get to go. But all of you think about when you were a kid. All right. And mind you, most of these Olympians are still kids, teenagers, early 20s. I mean, yeah, sure, you have some in their 30s and 40s and 50s, depending on the sport. But most of them are kids. And the most, I don't care if you played volleyball, baseball, football, or whatever it is. The coolest part there, and you really didn't realize it until you look back on your life, was that mom and dad were in the stands watching. Okay. That was the coolest part. And when mom and dad weren't there, it wasn't as fun to play. You're going to have the same thing with this Olympics this year, because nobody's going to be in the stands. Okay? Ask any of the pro athletes how enjoyable it was playing baseball or football or any of the sports when there were no fans in the stands. A lot of soccer, no fans in the stands. Silent stadium. There's no energy. That's what these Olympics are going to be. Now, the media, the White House, are going to rah, 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 China, 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 everything. Well, China is going to be on the world stage starting this weekend, trying to validate their way of life to the rest of the world. And our media is going to help them. Guys, this is the crap that is going on in Washington. Let's watch Russia. Let's not pay attention to what's going on in China, even though, as we've all said many times, the biggest, I don't want to say enemy, but the biggest challenger we have, even though China, in my opinion, is an enemy, but leave it be. The biggest challenge we have to our way of life is Chinese. I'm not worried about the next Red Dawn scenario of the Russians landing, parachuting in. I am worried about the next Red Dawn scenario of the Chinese. But how it works, it probably won't be parachuting in. It will be cyber warfare. It will be taking out the grid. It will probably be an EMP. Okay? That would be the easiest way to do it. I've talked many times on why China wouldn't want a ground war in the United States. Not that they could probably succeed with as well armed as the U.S. citizenry is. But take out the grid, and it becomes a hell of a lot easier. Xi Jinping is not a stupid man, certainly. Okay. This is all an attempt to validate his regime on a world stage, no different than Hitler did in 1936. And we all remember what started in 1939. Are we 3 years away? Maybe. I don't even think it's going to take that long. I think as soon as the Olympics are over, the fireworks are going to begin. And if China goes into Taiwan, which I certainly see happening, because look what they did with Hong Kong. Okay, Hong Kong is completely folded. Did China agree with any of the treaties, if you will, it signed with Britain when Hong Kong was given back? Okay, Hong Kong was supposed to remain autonomous for 99 years. That didn't last. Okay, they just run in all the communists, and hence here we are. Do we have another Cold War? Yeah. Is it against Russia this time? Nope. But it's against the other superpower in the world that is communist. China. Don't let the media tell you otherwise. They're going to do whatever they can to appease the Chinese. Our politicians are going to do whatever they can to appease the Chinese. Look at the recent stories that have come out about how many dozens and dozens of politicians have made significant amounts of money in China in the last couple of years, both Democrat and Republican. Actually, there's more Republicans than Democrats. A lot of you guys talk about the Uniparty. Okay? When it comes to China, yeah, our government, at least in the U.S., is doing its damnedest to sell us out to the Chinese. Our media is helping. It's going to be up to you and to me to make sure that never happens. And the only way we are going to be able to do that is if we are well prepared to fight the good fight over the long run. Things like this this Canadian convoy gives everybody hope, because it ain't no small fringe minority, okay? You got hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people, that are participating up in Canada. And this is starting to take over around the world. This is fighting back. This is what it's going to take. Canada may be the first shot in the war. But I'm telling you guys, please, please, please think about every scenario you can possibly think of for war on our soil with China, because that is the true enemy. It may not be a shooting war, but it's going to be a technological war, taking out the internet, taking out the grid, taking out the banks. Okay? We've all heard of many ways this is going to be done. China wants a digital yuan. If they can take out, well, China's already got a digital yuan. If they can take out the world economy, which they are trying to do, and make the yuan the world reserve currency, now all of a sudden we're susceptible to their economic deal. Social credit scores. Guys, if you start putting all these pieces together and look at everything that's going on, everything has China's thumbprint on it. And we, our government, is just going, what else would you like to take? Let us help you. Long video. Thoughts for the morning. Have a good Tuesday. Bimble out.